Welcome back to Dan91's Garage. It's great to be back and it's good to see you guys. It's been a while, I know. Sorry to have been missing for a while, but YouTube isn't my job. I don't earn any money from it. So as you may have noticed, there's no adverts. I haven't monetized my channel, so you guys get to watch all of the content without any of the interruptions. So there we go. I've had a whole bunch of DIY tasks to do after building the last project. All of a sudden, you finish with that one and then there's a big vacuous hole in your life and the garage, and all of a sudden you've got to do all the other jobs you were putting off, including building a 25-meter long fence for the entire length of my garden and doing a whole bunch of decorating and stuff in my house. So there we go. Finally got a bit more time to myself now again, and as part of my hobby I'm doing YouTube videos for you guys to watch. So don't forget to like and subscribe, because that's what keeps me going, and that's the reason I do it, because like I say, I don't earn a single penny from this. Enough of that nonsense. So there we go, Lexus IS200, 2002 model. It's in sort of fair to average shape, to be honest with you. Obviously it's the 1GFE, so 2 litre straight six. We'll get to the engine in a bit, but we'll start with the bad stuff. So as we can see on this corner, perhaps a little bit of crashing has occurred at some point in the past. The headlight doesn't fit too great either, and yeah, this appears to be just rust painted over with silver paint rather than treated, but we'll ignore that. So moving on round, obviously as the usual Toyota sort of Lexus sill and arch rust. There's nothing else too bad as far as I can see in here. Some weirdness going on here, and there's a bit of a scrape here somewhere where it looks like someone sort of rode it up a curb or some shit, but we'll be taking this back to the bare metal or bare rust, but it feels pretty solid when I poked it and everything. So yeah, that shouldn't be too bad to fix, I don't think. This has left the chat and detached itself quite badly from its attachment piece that bolts on here, so might be making a bit of a drift repair there perhaps. Yep, it appears to have had a little bit of crashing gone on in this corner as well, judging by the outie we've got there. But yeah, get around this side as well, and there's a bit of a 5 or 6 mil gap here where the light doesn't fit, but again, this wraps over the bumper, and the bumper obviously isn't far in enough, so the bumper needs to go there, and this corner is actually pretty solid. Someone decided that repairing the rust here by just putting body filler over the top of it and painting it was the good idea, so that's kind of how that is. Other than that, not too bad. Those are the main issues with it. Yeah, exhaust on the wonkers it should be. Perfect. So I'll have a quick look in the boot. Entirely sure what we got going on here, but cable ties and some sort of, okay, right, so we've got a light going from, a wire going from one side to the other, which basically means one of the brake lights probably doesn't work. To figure out what that does, interesting. So yeah, there we go. It does have the ski chute, trunk storage shenanigans. So you can actually put a pair of skis in there apparently and send that through to the front. Drag ourselves round to the interior. So being as it's an O2, it's a facelift model, so it's got the single colour dash. And the stereo has the CD above the tape, that's how you tell apparently. I don't know what other features it's got apart from that. I mean, chrome speakers perhaps, I think that was one of them. It is an automatic, so the idea is it's going to be a bit more of a cruiser, I think, sort of a sled, but the autos are cheap and plentiful, and trying to find a manual one of these is virtually impossible, and they're always 4 or 5 times the price. So being as this costs basically £1,500 delivered to my house, I didn't think that was too bad a deal really. When I saw it, I kind of knew I had to have it. It was a bit of a gamble, but it drove fine. It's got 120,000 miles on it, and really it seemed to be that any sort of obvious damage was shown rather than it hiding too much, although that's what today's episode's about really. Before I end up spending money making it faster or better or whatever, I think I want to investigate all the character features that this particular model has. So we're gonna Yeah, I think the first thing we'll do is take the bumpers off front and back, because obviously it's had a biff in both corners. So yeah, we'll take those off, see if we can find anything underneath, see how it's going under there. Okay, so the bumper's off, and like I say, this area here is where the top edge of the bumper sits into these sort of clips here. One of my clips is missing, but this is sort of like this little eyebrow thing that essentially is where the top edge of the bumper clips onto. It would appear that from this, as you can see, the headlight is what's sunk back. So on this side, if we look at it, there's a good sort of 10 mil of that sticking forwards, or the headlight is pushed back further. Whereas on this side that fits and lines up properly, if you look down here, there's barely sort of 5 mil sticking out. So, okay, time for some updates. So this is the good side. You see there's minimal gap at the bottom, maybe 3 mil gap at the top. As I said, this bar is where the top of the bumper lip sits in and clips on, and that's maybe 3 or 4 mil sticking out the front there. On this side it was about 10 mil sticking out, but basically if we take this off quickly, there's a screw at the top here, and there's also another 2 screws back up inside here, and they're actually attached to the wing. So I'll just pop this off quickly, and there's about 5 different electrical connectors on the back of this damn thing. So that pops off, hopefully, like that. And as we can see down in here, this sort of bent up piece of metal here and this bent up piece of metal, this whole sort of area has been pushed back in a little bit. Now obviously the wing, which has these so the wing, this bracket here, is where the back of the headlight attaches to. So the back of the headlight's got 2 screws on it, and they bolt into there. This plastic bracket here is what this section of the headlight rests in. You can see this is a replacement one because it's got the old scrapyard writing on it, so we know the headlamp was toast. Anyway, so we need to sit that in there, bolt on at the top, and then bolt on here. Now what I'm going to do is I've pulled this area by hand as much as I can. I've pulled and wiggled, and this is actually really quite sort of soft. So I've pulled and bent and pulled all I can from these brackets. Obviously I can't pull out this section because it's way too hard, and you have to put it on a machine to pull that out straight, but I've done the best I can. I took this off to help move stuff about, and in the process somehow, who knows how, but these screws broke, so I'm going to have to drill them out now, but that's another story. Anyway, so now the plan is, if I put a couple of washers here, maybe 2 or 3 mil, and that'll kick it back this way, because what was happening is essentially the bottom of the headlight was jumping off the back of this bracket because it's broken, sitting behind it because this has moved back, and then it was pulling the bottom in. So what I've done is pull it back out. I'll space this out with maybe 1 or 2 washers. That'll kick the bottom of it out forward, sit it back on here, which is what then pushes it back out. So it's the correct distance sitting on this thing, which I now have to fix because it magically broke while I was taking it apart. So yeah, there we go. So yeah, I'm going to drift stitch the front bumper. I'm not buying a new one. They're like 200 quid or something crazy. So I'm just going to drift stitch it for the time being. It's not going to be a concours. There's no way. The whole idea was, like I say, it cost me less than £1,500 delivered. So the idea is to just have some fun with it, basically, as it is, without spending a stupid amount of money. So that's all figured out. So I'll get this all sorted and put back together, get the bumper back on, and then I'll show you what it's like finished. There's nothing else to really see here. And there we have it, ladies and gentlemen. It's not actually bolted back on, but if we offer everything up and hold it where it's going to sit, you can see that the holes in the top there line up, and now the lights come out nice and level with the bumper. No more cracky shenanigans going on here. Bolt that up in the corner. Lovely job. That's real good. I'm very surprised how well that's come back out. So, and obviously when you do the drift stitching, don't forget to drill a hole at the end of the crack, because that stops the crack spreading any further. So you drill a nice round hole and that softens up all the edges rather than letting the split continue. So that's why there's an extra hole there. But yeah, not too bad. I mean, when was the last time you saw a rough looking IS without any drift stitching on it? So that's all back together. So update, I stripped out the boot. That's the liners and everything. And this is obviously the lower liner that comes off to allow you to get the bumper off. The bumper's just sort of chilling on the floor here at the moment because the stupid reverse sensors wiring comes out and can't be detached very easily. I'll come to that in a minute. And if we have a quick look down here, this is where you should always check in the boot. So yeah, a little bit of crumpling going on. You can see where it's sort of squished in and then raised up in this area. So that's the crumple. The reason they put these marks in it is so it crumples in a uniform way to sort of dissipate the force through the chassis kind of thing. But it's not horrific. It's not like split away or anything around here, and doesn't look to be leaking. So all things considered, when I checked the fit of the boot out compared to where the bumper sort of step is, it looks like this side's gone in maybe like ½ an inch or sort of 12 mil. But yeah, generally speaking, a little bit of rust, nothing too serious. Couple of little bits coming through. That's probably the worst of it there, which I'm not going to press on too hard because I don't want to have to start welding more shit. So yeah, that's just going to get a quick scuff over and get rid of some of that. But like I say, the pockets have got a bit of rust in them, but nothing serious. Again, you can see the sunroof drain there, that bizarre sort of green pipe coming down here. That's the sunroof drain. It has got a kink in it, so I'm going to chop that shorter and straighten it up so it's not leaking. But really, I mean, it's a bit difficult to show on camera, but these sort of plastic sort of bosses that are coming through from the other side, they're where the bumpers clip on. They sort of clip onto this thing and then this weird sort of knobbly ball joint thing. And basically you can see there's water running down as a witness mark, so we know it's leaking in there, and also there's a bit of rust and sort of rusty water coming down. So I'm going to take the vents out and take all of these sort of fittings out, put a bit of silicone sealant around them and then sort of smush them back in, so at least that way we know they're sealed up. Start with that, and again scuff up this, give it a bit of paint with some rust converter, carry on with our life. Again, a whole bunch of sort of like plastic screw bosses that are pushed through the chassis. They're starting to go a bit, but the challenge is, if you unscrew them, is it so rusty that it mullers a piece of the actual bodywork, in which case probably leave it alone. But at the same time, you know, these ones don't look too bad, they just look a bit of surface really. So, but there is, again, it's all these brilliant ideas. There's this sort of like little bit of arch liner thing going on here, but it's just a perfect mud and water trap. You see all the mud and crap that's fallen out on the floor, that was all hiding behind that bloody mud guard. So I really want to get the bumper off and the mud guards off to make sure the arches are okay, but at the same time I don't want to unscrew them and muller them like I did when I took the sill cover off at the back. But this side's a bit better. Again, you can see here obviously watermarks and staining running down here, so yeah, something's been coming in there, so we'll have to deal with that. But again, another one of the sunroof drains. This side isn't as bad, so yeah, not too worried about that. But generally I'm just going to give it a bit of a sand down and a tidy up, so that's it basically. But yeah, we'll go on to the wonder that is the reverse parking system. So it looks like an aftermarket system, but I think it was probably fitted by Lexus as an option. So on this side, where the reverse light is, the red wire there taps onto the reverse light bulb, and then we come in here and that red wire comes down to this magic box of shenanigans here, and that's obviously the positive, so it gets its power from the reverse light when that's on, which activates this box. The ground is just a ring terminal that was screwed on here to one of the tie down eyes, and then we've got 4 sensors plugged in. Then this thing which says display, which is actually goes over here up to this bundle of wire, and then up in that top corner there is the speaker, and that's just double-sided taped to the bulkhead. So being as at the moment the wires just go through a crudely drilled hole in the chassis which hasn't been deburred or even painted, and all of this nonsense and shenanigans here are excess wire for the sensors basically. So the problem was, when I had the spare wheel in here, trying to lift the spare wheel up, it was pulling on this, crushing this, and I could barely get the bloody thing out. And being as this is going to be a sort of toy, weekend toy rather than a daily driver, I think I might just delete the whole system because it doesn't look great and it's just in my way and I can't even get the bumper off at the minute. So, but yeah, happy, well, not so happy that there's anything happened. I kind of knew there was going to be something there, but that isn't the end of the world. The boot shuts and there's no massive like rust holes or anything falling to pieces. It's just the usual sort of 20-year-old Toyota nonsense going on, and it was cheap, and at least this way I don't have to treat it like a concours car. So it's just going to get, I never like to abuse cars, or, you know, I always try my best, but there is a level of where the car sort of is at, and I just don't think that this car is certainly in one that's going to be like cherished and pristine. So I'm going to do my best, and it's just going to be a lot of fun to go skidding around in it, I think. So yeah, sort this out. I'll see you guys on the other side. And in case you were wondering, the electrical connection to the reverse light bulb was just twist and tape, so that's perfect. I just unwind that and slip it off, put some tape on it, I guess. But yeah, they tried to tap into this one first and realised that that was the wrong one, because obviously you can see the marks on it. But yeah, that's the earth, which they didn't need two earths, so they finally got it right and went with power on that one. So yeah, kind of glad I found that, and I'm definitely removing it. So yeah, here we go. So yeah, got the arch liner out on this side, and gee, I wonder why Toyotas rust so badly. Could it be that giant clod of mud held behind it forever? Yeah, that's probably what's doing it. So I better not be too harsh with it, probably take the car with it. But yeah, there you go. Don't be afraid to have a look behind there, but obviously be aware that if it's really badly rusted, when you try and undo these screws, it's just going to tear this whole thing out. Well, we're back at the back box, and I've noticed that the heat shield's torn out, and yeah, basically needs a big washer on it sort of thing. But the thread's pretty rusted, and there's sort of studs coming out the floor, so I don't really want to snap it off, and I can't get the bolt off because it's rounded. So what I'm doing at the moment is I'm retapping the thread, and I might just sort of double up and stick another washer on it with sort of some legs coming off it or something. But there's zero access here, so basically I've got myself a die on it, and I'm currently screwing in and out with this giant screwdriver. And yeah, so basically work it backwards and forwards on the thread to try and recut the thread, because I can't get a handle in there and I can't get the exhaust off. So yeah, this is definitely not the right way to do it, and as you've already probably assumed, this is kind of ridiculous, but I have started, so I will complete my mission. And yes, yep, carry on with that just to stop this thing as I'm going down the road. There we go. Just a couple of bits of aluminium was all that was needed, a couple of strips and a hole, bit of a bend in it so it's a slight Z shape, just to save the end of it digging in. So yeah, that holds the back edge. Got another one up here holding this corner in. So yeah, all solid now, no rattling and flopping about or anything, so that's cool. Also the rear hangers here, for some reason, for the exhaust, probably because of whatever shenanigans have happened here. I mean, quite a lot of this is all biffed as well, so yeah, this somehow was bent this way, so all I did was put the aluminium drift on the end of that and twatted it with a hammer a few times, and then this is obviously then swung back under, and now the rubbers are actually in line with the end of the exhaust hanger. But yeah, without that, this edge here was sort of so far out that this was only half on the end, and the same with this one. So yeah, thankfully when I batted this stuff about, none of it split or broke off, which is quite cool. So yeah, there we go. That's all sorted now. So the exhaust is sorted, no more rattly heat shields, so we could probably tidy this up and chuck the bumper back on, I think. So there we go, the end caps have turned up to fit into the holes where the reverse parking sensors used to be. 22mm, the hole's about 21, and I've ordered 22mm end caps, and I've drilled these out with a step drill or Christmas tree bit. These do say 22 on them, but I've measured them up, they're 22 1/4, so that one's gone in, but they are stinking tight. So yeah, never coming out again. Lovely. So we're going to move on to the corner of the bumper now, where this plastic tab has become detached mysteriously from here. The whole sort of car has a vibe of Grandad's been out driving again. And yeah, this has been knocked or bumped into something, and it's cracked off this corner piece. So we're just going to simply replace it with a folded piece of aluminium, some sort of L bracket that has the tab on here to bolt to the chassis, and yeah, some sort of L-shaped piece to go down here, which we're going to rivet on through the outside of it or whatever. So I'm going to carry on and do that, draw something out, and I'll show you when it's done. You've seen me make hundreds of brackets before. It's simply just going to be an L bracket with a few holes in, but I'll get it done and show you how it's done afterwards. There we go, from busted eyelet. That's my little cardboard template. So fold across there. Obviously that way we have a nice flat at the top and the angle to go down inside the bumper. Make a slot in here to bolt onto the car. A couple of holes here for rivets. Just need to transfer that to my piece of scrap aluminium. Believe it or not, this actually used to be a rudder from a K2 canoe that I used to do when I was a bit of canoeing when I was a kid. And if we're clever, we might be able to use that hole for something. But and there it is, all riveted on. So 3 rivets to hold it in. Just a folded up bent piece of aluminium. The bracket was a little bit too large and the hole was a bit tiny offset to one side, so I just filed the hole a bit closer and now it lines up okay. So there we go, that's all sorted. So bumper's now ready to go back on. Back of the car is pretty much finished. I just got to do some painting in the arches where there was a little bit of surface, so I've treated that with some rust converter. I'm just going to give that a quick spray with some primer and then satin black. And yeah, ready to go back together, so the back end will be complete again. So tyre check. This one is a Continental Conti Sport, very nice. This one, Hankook Ventus Prime, top quality. The spare, Goodyear Eagle F1, of course it is. This quality item is actually made by Fauver, which is like a, apparently it's made in Germany, but it's kind of, from what I know, it's like a big sort of car parts company or an outdoors company or something. So Efficiency Plus, which is obviously what you want on that particular corner. And front left, that's right, you've guessed it. It is a Nexen N-Ferra SU1. So yeah, perfect. Not just 4 different tyres, 5 different tyres, including the spare. Top quality. Front bumper's back on, just going to let it warm up. I haven't started it for a while, so just like to let it warm up, idle for a bit. And you can hear something clacking away in there. You can hear the drive-by-wire throttle clacking away, so if that's normal, let me know, because I've never owned one of these before, but it seems a bit odd to me. Anyway, so there we go, front bumper's back on, all drift stitched back together. It does need a paint here, and when I can be bothered and take that off next, I'll do that. So yeah, front bumper's back on, headlights looking good, nice and level here. Does stick out a little bit there, but there's not much I can do, being as I've had to cock it forward. I did get a new replacement clip for the bottom of that in the end, so that's all solid now, and it can't sort of jump off its mount anymore. So yeah, front of that's done, and we take a little walk around the back. I love Toyotas. There we go. Back bumper's back on as well. Like I say, dummy got the plugs in the back of it there to get rid of the holes that were left from the rear parking sensor. The exhaust hasn't fixed itself, it's still on the piss, so we just ignore that. Round we go, lovely job, all bolted back up. Fits pretty well in the end. And also I played about with this light as well. This light wasn't fitting properly again because the sort of push that it's had here. So what I did was the same at the front. I put a couple of washers behind this just to sort of cock the back of the light out, which then tipped this corner in so it's a bit less sticking out here. So that's pretty cool. And finished off the boot, so yeah, I painted it mainly in primer, put the side pieces back in, which is all good. I'm not going to worry too much about that. I mean, I could lacquer it and call it Nardo Grey, but yeah, I'm not that guy, so that'll be fine as it is. Not too sure if I'm going to put any of the rest of it back in, but a bit more of a sort of lightweight club spec, but there we go. Anywho, that's about it for this episode. So still shuts. So yeah, I'll let this warm up, and I'll see you guys on the next one.